He's just a regular guy with a cool job that God loves for some reason. Welcome to the Steve Marston Show, a daily journey in learning how to live more like Jesus, conversations with those that God is working through, and dad jokes. It's the most unique show you'll hear today. Now, here's Steve.
Well, greetings. Welcome in. It is the Steve Marston Show, and we were here for a Friday. Friday means we are turning the fun up to 11 because it is a fun Friday. We're going to have a ball today. Thank you for joining us, whether you're listening live on the radio at 3 o'clock or you're listening on your own schedule online. I am glad that you're here. We've got Adam Holtz coming up. He is from pluggedin.com, which is a ministry of focus on the family. We're going to go through some entertainment stuff and see what's new in the movies and streaming and all kinds of things when Adam joins us in just a little bit. I got to tell you this story, though, as we get started. This just shows that my life is every bit the same as yours, if not maybe a lot of times worse. Because I think sometimes we have this idea that because people are on the radio or on television or have some kind of little platform that somehow we're immune to things that everybody else goes through. And I'm not trying to say that I'm somebody important, but I mean, I even feel that. I mean, I look at people that have, real successful podcasts and think, man, I wish my life were that good, right? And it's just human nature. But I want to make sure you understand that when that opening says he's just a regular guy, that comes with regular guy problems. Let me tell you a little bit of what it's like to be me. Are you ready for this? So about a week ago, my car started giving me problems. And it's one of those things where you're never ready for car trouble. It's just not something that you readily accept and go, oh, yippee, we've got car issues. That, of course, never happens. So I contacted a friend of mine saying, I think the transmission is messing up. I don't know anything about cars, but looking online, that's what it seems like the problem is. My buddy is a great mechanic and specializes in transmissions. So I thought, well, that's at least a little bit of a silver lining in this cloud. So I send him my car. He looks at it. He says, yeah, there's some problems here. And I don't know, fixes the flux capacitor in it. I don't know exactly what it was, but he fixed it. And instead of costing about $3,000 like we thought, it only cost me a little over $1,000. Now, $1,000 at my house is a lot of money, but it's not as much as $3,000. So do a little happy dance, me and my wife. Thankfully, we've got the car fixed and not going to have to pay as much as we were initially thinking. So literally yesterday, I drove to my buddy's shop, picked up my car, and it is driving just as good as it did when it was brand new. It's just back to just like chef's kiss, okay? And I get home and I pull into my driveway, open up the garage door, pull into the slot, and walk in my house. And no sooner had I walked into my house, I greeted my wife of almost 30 years, and she says, I just want to cry. And I was like, why? What's the matter? She said, I hate to spring this on you just as soon as you walk in, but now we're having trouble with my car. Her car is acting crazy and weird too. So we're going to have to take it in. And hers is even acting a little bit worse because we're not sure if it's even safe to drive from our house to the shop because, again, what Google says, and maybe Google's wrong. We don't know. I'm going to find out later this afternoon because I'm going to chance it. I'm actually going to drive about the 30 miles from my house to my buddy's shop to let him give it the once over and find out what's wrong with it. But I'm sure you've been there. When it rains, it pours. Everything hits at one time. It doesn't seem like things get spaced out, right? And my wife, bless her heart, she was just so frustrated by it yesterday because she's the one that really looks after the money in the house. And whichever person that is in the marriage is the one who has the most stress, I think, because finances are finances and they're always difficult. And she's like, why can't we get ahead? It just seems like every time we are turning a corner, something else breaks and something else falls apart. You ever been there? I know I have too. And my wife was just like, she says, I know better than this. And she prefaced it by saying that. But she was like, why is this happening to us? We are such the Christian people. We're always generous to people. We're always trying to live out our faith. And yet it seems like this stuff just keeps happening to us over and over. Have you ever been there? I know it's so disheartening. And we know better than that. We know that God loves us, and we know that it's not because we deserve anything good, because we're no better than anybody else as people, but it's just that human emotion that wells up inside saying, really? Why us? And when we think about that, sometimes it can really get us down, and it really makes us question God. But we have to stand on not our emotions, but on every word that God has said. And what God has said and what God has promised us is that he will take care of us. He's never promised that anything would be easy. Can I get an amen? I mean, if we would just accept that fact. I look back at the book of Job, and Job kind of was talking to his wife about kind of the same thing. Job's wife was saying, I don't understand why this is happening to us either. And she even goes to the point saying, why don't you just curse God and die? Because she had lost so much. She had seen her husband go through so much. She was just at the end of her rope too. And Job had some really wise words. In the midst of all that he's going through, which, by the way, is a gazillion times worse than what me and my wife are going through, Job said, how can we expect good from the hand of God and not bad? It's just life. It's just the way it is. And I think so many times we get lulled into maybe a false sense of security that life should always be okay and just bumping along at the same pace. But it's not like that. And we know it's not like that, but yet we're still surprised and shocked when bad things happen. And we shouldn't be. We should get to the mindset to realize that this is part of the everyday ups and downs of just being a human. And being a human and having these everyday ups and downs means that our situations are going to change. Our emotions are going to be all over the place because of it. So we have to find something stable. We have to find something that's going to be an anchor that we can hold on to, something that's not going to change regardless if everything else does. And we all know what that is. If you're a follower of Jesus, you know that. You know it's him. You know it's his word. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Yet, we act and we live in a way that, boy, it's just so different, isn't it, than what we're supposed to, than what we know to do. So, I tell you all that to tell you this. Don't be surprised by the ups and downs of life. Don't be surprised by the hardships, the financial struggles, the unfairness, the unjustness. It's going to happen. It's a part of who we are living in a broken world. The only thing that we can depend on is knowing that not only is God good and that God loves us, but God is right here with us. And if we would just take that and stand on that and believe that more so than everything else around us, we'll be doing good. All right, that's the opening statement. More of the Steve Marston Show next. Welcome back. It's the Steve Marston Show, and it's a fun Friday. And what's better than fun? How about free? It's a free Fun Friday. Well, that's hard to say fast, isn't it? Yeah, we've got a free PDF for you at our show's website, stevemarstonShow.com. It's 5 tips for Bible study. If you're ever been at the point where you're like, I wish I could just open the Bible and learn for myself without relying on a devotional or a workbook or anything like that, then this is for you. It's just strategies and tips that I have learned over the years, having studied the Bible for myself and actually read books on how to study the Bible. I've just kind of tailored them to myself, and I think they're really easy, really practical. This, what I use every single time that I open the Word, is these strategies, and I think it'll help you. And I would love to get it into your hands. No cost, no obligation, no strings. Just go to our website, stevemarstonShow.com, and right there at the front of the page, you'll see the 5 tips for Bible study, free PDF. You click on it, and what happens is it sends it right to your email. Just a link, you open the link, and boom, it's a quick digital download for you. So I would love for you to have it if you're so inclined, and I think it'll help you. And I would love to hear from you. If it has helped you, let me know. Shoot me an email, steve@salemmedia.com. That would be fantastic and a huge encouragement for me to know that it is really working and really helping you. So as we get back to the show here, let me tell you about what we do on Fridays, and that is we review the newspaper or magazine or online publication of record for the show. Now, a lot of shows will look at things happening in the Washington Post or maybe the New York Times or the New Orleans Times-Picayune. Okay, probably not the New Orleans Times publication, but it's just fun to say Picayune, right? But what we do here on the Steve Marston Show is a little different. We like to find some of the best highlights of the week from the Babylon Bee. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bee, shame on you, because it's amazing. It is a satirical website that really kind of pokes fun at the church bubble. And me, as a natural-born smart aleck, coupled with the fact I have grown up my entire adult life in the church bubble, this is perfect. And in fact, I kick myself sometimes for not having invented it myself. So it's kind of one of those classic cases of, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So we're going to look at the Bee and see what's happening there this week to just kind of give you a little taste of what they have. And I came across this list. Let's get some Babylon Bee music going here. This list is 9 foolproof ways to get men to show up to a Bible study. Now, regular Bible study, the Bee says, is an important ingredient in a person's continued spiritual growth. Well, of course it is. But sometimes men just don't wanna. So the Bee has thoughtfully come up with some foolproof tips to get the men in your life to show up to a Bible study. This should be very good. You ready to go? All right, let's start with number 9. Number 9 is just send out a pic of your N64 with a GoldenEye cartridge. Trust us, they'll make it. See, I don't even know what that is. That's like Gen Alpha, Gen whatever. Yeah, that's not my generation for sure. But GoldenEye cartridge, all right, I'll follow them on that. Number 8 on the list says, well, this is just straightforward as it can be. Call them gay if they don't come. It's a simple yet remarkably powerful trick. Now, that one I can't argue with. Number 7 on the list of the Babylon Bees, how to get men to show up to a Bible study, is disguise it as a college football watch party. They'll be overjoyed when you turn off the TV and hurl a Bible at them. Well, of course they will. Who wouldn't be? It's good stuff. Number 6 is clarify that everyone will just sit around smoking cigars while reading the Bible with their yappers shut. Well, Babylon Bee says, sold American. Number 5 on the list of the Babylon Bees, how to get men to show up to a Bible study, is make it a Bible study / fantasy football league. Here's the way it would work. You would draft a wideout, then read a verse. Hey, that actually might work. that could get them to show up. We're up to number 4 on the list now. Lure them with a trail of brisket. Brisket. Oh, I see. Now you're speaking the language. That will hook. No doubt about it. Even the most, person against coming to a Bible study. Number 3 on the list from the Babylon Bee of foolproof ways to get men to show up to a Bible study is call it a smoke-barreled aged Bible study. Well, there you go. That'll tickle their fancy. Number 2 is if they're married and over 30, tell them there won't be any chicks present. Changes so fast. See? Not bad. Not bad. These are clever. These are good strategies. And finally, we have made it all the way up to our number 1 way, according to the Babylon Bee, to get men to show up to a Bible study. If they're single and under 30, tell them there will be chicks present. It's so simple. It's great. I love the Babylon Bee. Just, they break it down, and yeah, there's comedy involved, but just like in any comedy, there's an element of truth in it that rings for sure. All right, there you go. When we come back, we're going to be joined by our buddy Adam Holtz. He is from pluggedin.com, which is a ministry of focus on the family. We're going to be talking about all things entertainment, but specifically movies that are coming out, streaming television shows, and just to give you all the information that you need about them so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Because look, the last thing you want to do is show up to a movie with your wife and your kids and be kind of shocked and embarrassed and be all cringy because you didn't realize what was there. Yeah. So we'll talk to Adam coming up next. It's the Steve Marston Show. We are live on a Friday. Stay with us. It's the Steve Marston Show, and we are back. This fun Friday continues. Thank you for letting us be a part of yours. And don't forget, our YouTube channel is all new. It's revamped. It's really cool. And we're needing more subscribers. So if you are so inclined, because look, you're going to be on YouTube anyway, right? So head over to Steve Marston Show and click like, subscribe, and help us continue to grow. And we would really appreciate it. Again, youtube.com/Steve Marston Show. Okay, it's time to welcome in our regular Friday guest. Adam Holtz is his name. He is with pluggedin.com, which is a ministry of focus on the family. And we were just chatting a little bit before we went on the air about how sometimes there are weeks where you and I have to kind of really put our thinking caps on and to struggle through because there's just not a whole lot going on. Well, this week is not that at all, is it, my friend?
It is not. We actually probably have more content than we can even get through today.
We probably do.
And actually, most of it might actually be films that people would be interested in. So, sometimes we'll have 6 different R-rated things that, frankly, nobody's going to be interested in anyway. But today... some interesting stuff. So let's start. Excuse me, I have to cough a little bit. I don't know where that came from. Let's start with Elijah Peel. Have you heard about this movie?
I have not. And when you said it, it kind of intrigued me when we were talking a little bit off air. But yeah, let's talk about it.
So Elijah Peel is a Christian movie. And it is about a rock star who has lived fast and hard, as rock stars are, stereotypically want to do. And he has a heart attack on stage and ends up in the hospital. And he has a young fan there. Her name is Jessica, and she is going through cancer treatment. And she basically says, look, buddy, you got to straighten up and fly right, or you're not going to be around very long. And it's sort of his quite literal come to Jesus moment in terms of just kind of having a reckoning with his lifestyle and the way he's lived. And I would say it's a fairly predictable movie. We kind of know where this thing is going to end up. But it's a pretty nice movie. I will say it's PG-13. There's a little bit of language here. And we get some references to the fact that Elijah drank, used drugs, and, was kind of a ladies' man as well. There's nothing graphic or explicit, but certainly we know he has lived the rock star lifestyle. So that is Elijah Peel. If that sounds like a drama that would be interesting to you, that is our first offering this weekend.
Yeah, and it's starring Robert Malcolm Cumming, who you probably may not know that name, but he, I think most famously, is in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I think that's right. I would not have made that connection, but now that you say that, it rings a very distant bell in my 56-year-old head.
He played.
When the bells go off. It's
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think he played. I can't remember the character's name, but it's Harry's uncle that
that's
that
right.
appears. Yeah, so you'll know his face when you see him, especially if you've seen the Harry Potter movies and are a big fan of those. So looking forward to that one. That's again, it sounds like a kind of a stereotypical kind of storyline, but it could be entertaining for sure. Let's move on to this one. This one I have heard of, actually. It's The End of Oak Street. Let's talk about that one.
Yes. So imagine being in a neighborhood and having that whole neighborhood on Oak Street scooped up and dropped in the middle of the Mesozoic era. Yes, that Mesozoic era. Not the Jurassic era, but the Mesozoic era. And so suddenly it's not 1982 anymore. It's much earlier. And, we don't have to worry about long commutes, but we do have to worry about those darn dinosaurs. So it's an interesting, our first of two dinosaur-oriented movies this week, but interesting plot point. Anne Hathaway stars as Denise Platt, and Ewan McGregor is her husband, Greg. And they're not doing very well. They're kind of on the brink of divorce as things get started. And as much as the premise makes it sound like, a huge action-adventure movie, and there is some of that, it's as much about family as it is, I would say, surviving the dinosaurs, although there's certainly plenty of dinosaur survival to be had here, and not everybody makes it through. So there are people who get chomped and stomped and basically taken out in the dinosaur onslaught.
Well, what kind of dinosaur movie would it be if it didn't have that?
Well, I've got another one that doesn't have that.
Oh, so well, that's true. You're right about that.
I have an answer to that question that is quite unexpected. So, I mean, it kind of has that Jurassic Park kind of vibe to it, but with a family orientation that perhaps those movies didn't have so much. But it's hard not to think about those. We do have our writer, Brett Eckleberry, says, but the dinos we see here, well, they're different. We've seen some dinosaurs we've never seen on screens before. So, maybe that's why they went with the Mesozoic era as opposed to the Jurassic era, so they can give us some different dinosaurs to chomp on the poor victims that show up there.
Adam Holtz is our guest here on the Steve Marston Show, and he joins us every week talking about movies and really all things entertainment. He's from PluggedIn.com, and I just want to give you just a little bit of a heads up on what Plugged In is like, because just the movie we're just talking about, The End of Oak Street, has these review elements: positives, spiritual, sexual, romantic content, violent content, crude or profane, drug and alcohol content, other noteworthy elements, and conclusion. So you can look at all of those elements of this one movie and then make up your mind for yourself. So it's so good, and every review is like that. It's just tremendous information for you as a parent or just as a person who wants to make wise entertainment choices. So you mentioned, Adam, about a dinosaur movie that doesn't have dinosaurs actually eating people. And you think to yourself, well, what kind of movie is that? Well, that's the Paw Patrol dinosaur story, right?
That is Paw Patrol, the dino movie. And Paw Patrol obviously is a long-standing franchise on TV. There have been 2 previous Paw Patrol movies that have done really well at the box office. You're like, man, why are they making another one of these movies? Well, follow the money. That is the answer. And these are just nice movies. We've got 5 or 6 puppy-like characters who live in Adventure City. They solve problems. They're very earnest. They are very, very helpful, as you would expect the Paw Patrol to be. This time around, they are patrolling in their boat, the Sea Patroller,
of course,
when a storm comes up and blows them into a mysterious island where there are dinosaurs. They actually meet a Bernese Mountain Dog, an old dog who is paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And you're like, well, how does a paralyzed elderly Bernese Mountain Dog survive? Well, he has a friend. His friend is Timmy. Timmy is the T-Rex who takes him everywhere he needs to go. So you know that when the T-Rex is kind and helpful as opposed to eating you, that you're dealing with a different kind of dinosaur movie. And, of course, the Paw Patrol gang are eager to get back to Adventure City and say, guys, look what we just found. But when that happens, well, that's when the villain comes in. Mayor Humdinger has gotten out of prison for previous antics. He's determined to straighten up and fly right, but he can't quite do it and falls back into old bad habits. And,
yes.
Paw Patrol things happen.
Right. For our generation, the mayor is like Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Boss Hogg, man. Yeah. I feel like we need to take a moment and just salute the old school right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. If for those of us that are saying, well, who is this character like for our generation?
Yes. Yeah. And just by way of not anything related to anything, I saw that the actor who played Cooter died this week. So
he did. That was sad, and that's right on the heels of, I think, James Best passing away, the guy that played Roscoe.
I think you're right. So anyway, we're dating ourselves.
Yes, we are.
Back to the business at hand. We have a couple of dino poo jokes, but other than that, this is a really sweet movie. Frankly, as sweet as it is, it's difficult for me to get my head around spending $12 or $13 on a Paw Patrol movie ticket when you can stream as much Paw Patrol as you can possibly find.
Exactly.
But if you are a hardcore fan and you have kids who love it, that is in theaters, and it's a nice alternative. I shouldn't be so sarcastic, but I have to, dial that down every now and then.
But you're right. It is such a long-standing franchise because my kids, and my youngest is now in the 7th grade, but he was a big Paw Patrol fan, and even my daughter, who's 21, was as well. So, this has really stood the test of time, and they're continuing to put out, good content that kids love. So, more power to them. All right, Adam Holtz is our guest here from Focus on the Family's PluggedIn.com. Now, you talk about movies that you're not sure why they keep making them, but because it's the register keeps ringing. To me, that's the whole category of anime. I just don't get it. Yeah. I don't understand it, but yet it's so successful and it's so good. And there's a new one that's coming to streaming called Ribbon Hero, right?
Yeah, Ribbon Hero is yet another anime movie, and this is the story of Princess Sapphire, whose home has been destroyed by monsters, and she goes to another country where they have kind of made a deal with the monsters not to kill them, but Sapphire knows that the monsters are not going to make good on that deal, and so she tries to rally the people to deal with the monster problem. And I would say as anime movies go, this one's PG. It's pretty mild content-wise. Obviously, you've got some spiritual content, actually a fair bit of spiritual content with the worldview here. Just a smattering of language and, the violent content you would expect whenever you've got marauding monsters involved. So I think the thing that we always need to keep in mind with anime is if you're watching something that you haven't vetted ahead of time, oftentimes you don't know which kind of anime you're dealing with.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff out there that is very much in that PG realm, but there is a lot of stuff that would raise your eyebrows clean off the top of your head if you're not paying attention. And just because it looks, kind of cartoony, and they have the characteristic style of the eye animation is big and kind of wide-eyed, and it like even the style has a kind of innocence to it superficially, but some of the more mature-oriented stuff definitely has, some of everything. I mean, we've got sexuality, violence, weird spirituality, can all get mixed in there, which is why with anime, you want to pay attention. And if you have a young anime fan, I think it's really important for you as a parent to be engaged with that and doing your homework so you don't end up in some of those places inadvertently.
Yeah, because you and I have talked about this in the past, because we think of it as a cartoon. Well, cartoons are going to be safe, and that's exactly. You're right. That's the furthest thing from the truth anymore. So exactly. That's such a good point that you bring up there. And I guess we ought to also hit on something we've covered in the past before here on our program, but they're up with a new season. It's The Chosen, and it's really kind of one of those parallel kind of things. You either love it or you're not such a big fan of it, but it's back and it's doing just as well as the others have done.
Well, and this is actually, there's a different Chosen show that is out right now, and this one's on Prime Video. This is The Chosen in the Wild with Bear Grylls.
Oh, this is not the season. Oh, that's right. Season 6 doesn't come out till November. I'm sorry, I got it confused.
Right. No, it's coming. You're almost there, but we're not quite there. Right. But what this is they took 5 of the Chosen's actors, the characters who play Mary Magdalene, Andrew, Matthew, and Jesus, and Judas, and they basically do what you might describe as somewhere between The Amazing Race, Survivor, and Fear Factor. I mean, they do all of these different crazy survivalish kinds of things. And it's interesting because we have gotten to know these characters as the characters they're playing. And this gives us a sense, I think, of who the actors are behind the scenes. And so I think it adds a whole new dimension to things. And as we await the next season of The Chosen, we have The Chosen with Bear Grylls.
Well, you know what? It's not a bad strategy because you want to keep the pump primed for The Chosen, and this is a nice way to be able to do that and to introduce the actors as themselves. So I don't necessarily hate the idea. It could be fun. That's pretty neat to see. And again, it's on streaming, so you can check that out as well. So Adam, we got just about a minute or so left. Why don't you tell everybody about Plugged In and how they can connect and make it a part of their routine to check on?
You bet, Steve. So pluggedin.com is a ministry of Focus on the Family. Our focus is entertainment and technology review website. We want to equip you and your family with everything you need to make good decisions and to think biblically and critically about your entertainment choices, not only with movies, but TV, books, YouTube channels, music, technology, all of that. You will find reviews at Plugged In, and we will help you navigate popular culture and technology. And as a parent of 3 teens, I will say sometimes it can feel overwhelming, and we want to make it feel a little bit less overwhelming.
There you go. Just make it feel whelming, right?
Yes, exactly. Just dial it back to whelming.
Just dial it back to whelming. See, we got a trademark. That needs to be our little thing there.
Yeah.
So very good. Yep. And I mean it. Check out Plugged In, bookmark it, and check it back often because it is so good. Adam, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. It's the Steve Marston Show. Discipleship has never been more fun. The Ministry of the Month is underway. In fact, we're starting to run out of days of August, believe it or not. I know that sounds like such an old person, doesn't it? But we are featuring this month our buddy Michael Youssef. He is, I think it's now officially the pastor emeritus of the Church of Apostles in Atlanta. He's also the Bible teacher on Leading the Way that you hear on a lot of great radio stations, including our one in San Antonio, AM 630, The Word. He has that program, but he also has a book that we want to put into your hands. It's called Winning the Invisible War. Dr. Youssef has written this book. It's called How to Recognize Lies, Temptations, and Be Victorious in Spiritual Warfare. It's something that's timely and something that's definitely needed. And regardless when you're listening to the program, you can get registered for this book. It's just simple as this. Go to your email and shoot me one saying, I want the book. Steve@salemmedia.com. Steve@salemmedia.com, and we will put your name in the hat regardless of whenever you're listening, whether it's on the radio live or if it's on your own time online. So get it entry in because, again, we'll be giving away multiple copies of this book. It's called, again, Winning the Invisible War from Dr. Michael Youssef from Leading the Way. And, of course, on September 19th, it's he and Chris Tomlin in Sugar Land, Texas, which is just outside of Houston, for the Awake Houston event. It's the first of what they hope to be many revival meetings all across the country where it's just coming together, worshiping God and asking God to send a revival to our land. It's going to be powerful, and you can be a part of it. Tickets are on sale at both of the radio stations' websites. That's AM 630, The Word in San Antonio, and 99.5, The Word in Little Rock. Both their websites have the ticket information available there, or you can go to awakehouston.com and get your tickets again at September 19th at the Financial Center in Sugar Land, Texas. Now, okay, normally on Fridays, we try to keep it even lighter than normal and just have a lot of fun just to celebrate the end of the work week. But we got to bring up some of these stories that are hard and that are tough. And this one kind of hits a little more personal to me. I mean, unfortunately, we see pastors getting in trouble almost on the daily, whether it be with sexual abuse, whether it be malfeasance of, money and finances, or a myriad of other things. It seems like there are headlines every single day about somebody being involved in something that they should not have been involved in. Well, this one is probably one of the most high-profile names of all of them, and that's Johnny Hunt, who used to be the pastor of a church in Woodstock, Georgia for like 30-something years. He was the Southern Baptist Convention's president, and you remember when that big explosive report from Guidepost came out about all of the abuse in the Southern Baptist Convention. The bombshell was that he was involved because no one had ever thought of it or heard of it before or had any kind of inkling that he would be named in it. Well, he was, and he has been, since that time that it came out, fighting for his name and fighting for being able to have his reputation kind of restored. Well, it turned out yesterday that his final defamation claim against the Southern Baptist Convention and against the sexual abuse survivor was turned down. And the sexual abuse survivor and advocate Tiffany Thigpen told the people over at churchleaders.com that the millions spent fighting Hunt's case could have easily helped fund the database of the SBC messengers that they previously approved. She said, God tells us to recognize those who maintain a form of godliness but deny its power using manipulation rather than love, she said. Think of what he did and realized the years after, until it was public, he maintained a form of godliness and continued to manipulate and cause even more harm. She continued, great harm was the cause to women because of Johnny Hunt, deep pain, confusion, and heartache. And then in the years after, it continued. She says, I think of the millions spent both to sue and then to defend. Just this one case could have funded the database we asked for from the SBC, and that the messengers themselves voted for, and supplied the office and further work for reform, protections, restitution, and care for the many that were harmed. So just a sad case all the way around, and it has come to its conclusion. And it just puts a pit in the bottom of your stomach, especially to those of us that really looked up to Johnny Hunt. And there was a lot of us that were blindsided by this revelation. Let's move on to something a little more positive, and that is one of the guys from Florida Georgia line who, okay, I'll just be transparent and honest because I try to be with you guys all the time. I have never been a fan of their music. However, Tyler Hubbard from the group says that The Chosen has become more than just a television show for his family, but it's helped his children better understand the Bible and has sparked meaningful conversations about Jesus. Now, that is the whole point, I think, of why The Chosen is there. You can't look at The Chosen or any of these movies or television shows that are made about Jesus to take them as documentary, to take them as gospel, because they're not. And they tell you that up front. We have to be disciplined and willing to say, okay, what really happened here versus what was portrayed in the movie? Because maybe they took some creative license. And I don't have a problem with that. I know some people do. But you know what? As long as you know that on the front end, that this should be a jumping off point for these discussions. And I'm so thankful that it's that way for the Florida Georgia line Tyler Hubbard's family, because you should be able to watch The Chosen or any of these and then grab a Bible and say, well, wait a minute, let's really see what happened and what did they take and make for story element and what was really there. And I think you're going to find that it's not too much different. However, having said that, there are enough differences that you ought to be able to recognize it and be able to share it with your family. So it's good stuff. I'm glad to hear that from Tyler Hubbard. All right, more of the Steve Marston Show next.
Here at the Steve Marston Show, we are serious about faith, but we love a good dad joke, too.
The dad joke of the day comes to us from Joseph. He's in Wimberley, Texas, and he says, hey, Steve, what do you call a pastor who only preaches about elevators? A pastor who only preaches about elevators? Well, that's a man of uplifting messages. Thank you, Joseph. All right, we are back. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day. Not only ready to wrap up this Friday, but also wrap up the work week. And all week long, we have been doing a Bible verse together called Faith Between Your Ears, is what we call the little feature, learning and memorizing this scripture so that we can have it in the forefront of our thinking, because I'm convinced that's what's going to help us grow and take the next step in following Jesus. I think this is the primary thing we have to do if we are serious about our faith and we're serious about living that abundant life that he says is possible. We just got to know what his word says. And all week long, we've been looking at Hebrews 11:6, and it says, it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and he rewards those who sincerely seek him. And we've talked about rewards a lot of times. Is that a motivation we should have? Well, I think so. If God's going to reward us, sure, let's go after it. But the main thing is our faith has to be there, that God is good, that God loves me, and God has a plan for my life. And when that is established and that is our baseline, then yeah, we can take off on this and to earnestly seek after him. And those rewards could be innumerable. They could be obviously in the next life, but I think they could be possible here as well. Now, they're not necessarily going to be, a new car and a fancy house and this, that, and the other material things, but they could be those blessings that we're not even paying attention to, that a lot of times just go right over our heads. Yeah, those could be from diligently and earnestly seeking after God, and we just think, oh, well, that's just good luck, or that's just a nice coincidence. No, that's the reward of seeking after him. Again, it's all about our mindset. It's all about what's between our ears, how we view our faith and how we view his word. So that's good stuff there. We'll have another verse for us next week here on the Steve Marston Show. And every day we wrap up by giving you a call to action. What's your next step? Well, I think going back to our conversation with Adam Holtz from PluggedIn.com, I think your next step ought to be having a little more discernment in your entertainment choices. Now, look, I'm not a prude, and I'm not saying you have to not watch any rated R movies or not listen to any kind of music that doesn't just uplift Jesus. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying be wiser, be smarter about it. And you can't expect your kids to follow that line if you're not going to follow it yourself. Well, that's our time today. Thanks so much for being part of the Steve Marston Show. Please like and subscribe our YouTube page. It will really help us. Be in church on Sunday and everything else, SteveMarstonShow.com. Adios.